C's get degrees. But do C's get you the kind of job you really want?
It's easy to sum it up when you just talk about practice. We sitting here, I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice.
Well, I've just got my hands on a new report from an educational nonprofit that tries to link people who are in education, things you pay for, to people who will hire you and pay you to do the job, to build a career that you want. And the question is, do C's matter? Well, tap the like button and let's find out. Hi, I'm James Callahan, and this is The Do-Over Show. And with 20 plus years of working in higher education and in the field where actually I hire people and pay them to do their work, there's something that happens when I look at a young student today, someone in college, a university, that's unsure about whether or not their degree will be impacted by the C's that they're getting, or whether their degree will actually turn into something they can make a living doing. Well, I've just got my hand on a brand new report from the National Association of Colleges and Employers. It's a nonprofit that tries to put together what people do in higher education, educating young adults to try to be ready for the workforce, and work with employers, people who actually hire you and pay you to do something for a change. And one of the things that this group tries to do is to try to match up what skills are acquired and what capacities you build in your education with what people are actually looking for. And I have to admit, today there is a big disconnect. There's a disconnect because students leaving their higher education experience say they're not prepared to actually do the work that they're going to be hired to do. And employers realize that they've got to stop expecting people to come fully prepared on day one with all the skills and technical knowledge in order just to do the job from scratch. They've got to hire for fit, that is the cultural fit of the company, the aspirations, the soft, the real skills of individuals, and then they have to train them. That is, they hire for fit and they train for skills. So let's take a look at the details of the report, and these are the attributes, a dozen top attributes according to not your college professor, not your advisor, not the academic dean. These are the things that people who want to pay you to do your work are looking for when you're finishing and you're looking at, what am I going to do with my college degree?
Mr. Dorfman.
Hello.
0.2. Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
And the number one thing that's not there, grades, which is why the expression C's get degrees really means something. Okay, now if you want to go on to grad school and you have a bunch of C's, you're only going to get into a program where you pay for it. You're not going to get a scholarship program if you have just C's and you say, I want to keep going to school because, well, I like going to school. Congratulations, you're also going to take out more student loans. The other people that look for something beyond just a degree, that is, they look at grades, are people that are in the field of education themselves, that have an accreditation, they have some accountability to an outside group. But most people that ask for your official transcripts when you get into a job are people that really struggle with people, well, lying about finishing. They got some college, but they didn't quite finish their degree. Now, the interesting thing is that most of us think, well, everybody goes to college, right? No. Only 1/3 of people 25 years and older in the United States today finished a college degree. Almost half went to college, but they didn't finish. So when you put down on your resume that you finished your college degree, that you've got a bachelor's degree from this college or university, some employers are going to ask you for your official transcripts. Now, your grades are going to be on there, but by the time they get your official transcripts, they're not going to look at it and say, oh, they got C's in this, unless they hire you on the promise that your major or minor area you excelled in and you come skill ready. Okay, if that's not you, if you're just trying to get into a job and you're going to gain experience in the job and they're going to train you, that's the real world, let's look at the attributes that people are really looking for. Now, the list itself lists 20 items, some of them almost 90%, some of them just single digits, so they're not really important to most employers, and some of it will probably surprise you. It surprised me. The study is called The Attributes Employers Are Looking For on Graduates' Resumes. Now, let me add something in at this point. If you're graduating and all you have is your degree, but you have no real-world experience, you have no job, no work experience, it's going to be difficult for you to get a job except working for mommy or daddy. That is, people are looking for people who graduate and are ready to work, who actually have been tested in the workplace. They show up, they do their work, they learn something. Like a college degree proves that you're able to do something difficult and finish it. Having something on your resume besides your degree proves that you're able to show up, listen to a boss, get work done, meet expectations or exceed them, and that you know what it's like to actually work for a living. And that'll become critical when you look at the list of attributes that employers are actually searching for. Now, the number one thing that they say they're looking for is this: problem-solving skills. 88.7% of employers surveyed said, I need somebody who can solve problems. They have the skills to solve problems. So do you know what problem-solving skills actually are? Problem-solving skills involve critical thinking. Where do you learn to think critically? By comparing and contrasting ideas. Things you don't agree with, but you have to add them in and factor them in. Compare and contrast. Evaluate. Is this one better in this situation than that one? Critical thinking is the ability to hold an idea, to use it, to apply it in a circumstance, regardless of whether you think it's right or wrong, believe it or not, it violates your values, or it best expresses your true self. Critical thinking, as one philosopher in ancient Greek said, is the ability to hold an idea you disagree with and entertain the possibility that it's true. Yeah. The other thing is that you're able to make decisions. Decisions based on real things, not simply on preference. When the boss says, I like blue, and everybody in the design team all of a sudden favors blue for everything, it doesn't show that they have decision-making skills. It means that basically they realize the boss likes blue, I better do blue. That's not problem solving. That's not critical thinking. That's not decision making. That's just weakness. Now, the other thing is that you have an information system. That is, you are able to gather, accrue information, apply it, maybe downgrade it, maybe upgrade it, but you have a process for actually handling information. Now, where do most people learn the ability to do that? It's not at home, and it's not learning to do one thing on one job, in one scenario, or one apprenticeship, or one internship. Most people learn how they can acquire critical learning skills, critical problem-solving skills in their higher education degree, if it's a good quality degree. Okay, that was a lot on the big one because it is big. The next one is 78.9% is the ability to work in a team. You remember all those team assignments in college that you absolutely hated? You ended up doing all the work while the slothers, they just blew it off and it depended on you to do it. Employers want somebody who can work on a team, and that means that you're not going to be pissy, you're not going to be petty, you're going to allow people to do their work, and you're going to have to collate, put together all the work that's done by a team. Yes, sometimes your work is going to shine above others, and sometimes people are going to be better at doing things than you are. But being able to work on a team without causing problems. You know who doesn't want problems? HR. You know who else doesn't want problems? HR telling your boss being told by HR that you're a problem team member. Third is communication skills. Written. Can you write a sentence? Can you write out a thought? Can you actually put words together on a piece of paper, in a memo, in an email that makes sense and communicate what needs to be communicated? Again, not what you think or you feel about something, but what your audience needs to understand. That is persuasive communication in writing. You can develop that. It takes practice. It took me years to write, not just academically, but write for a larger audience, for an outside audience, to actually be able to speak and interact with people on YouTube, to be able to communicate in an effective way. That's the third highest quality employers are looking for. The fourth thing, I'm surprised this isn't number one. It seems so boomerish and old-fashioned, but they want a strong work ethic. They want 71.6% want somebody who will actually show up and do their work. A strong work ethic means that you actually have some integrity. You want to finish assignments, not just finish the day at 5 o'clock or whenever you punch out. And most of you, when you're working from a college degree to a job, you're going to be working a job where you're not paid by the hour. You're going to be given a salary. And that means that sometimes your work week is going to be 50, 60, 70 hours. In certain professions, it's going to be expected that you put in certain amount of overtime, that you're going to work nights, you're going to work weekends, you're going to show up early, and that's going to be normal. That depends on the field that you work towards. That depends on the field you're hired in. And you can know that going in. Don't be surprised by it like, I'm closing up at 5 because I have a work-life balance. Work-life balance is a lie. It's a fallacy, especially if you have a work ethic and you know who you are. That's enough on that. The next one is flexibility and adaptability. That you're able to go into a job and you don't say, hey, I wasn't hired to do that. But you say, great, I'll learn that. You have a flexibility and adaptability. You have the ability to learn as you go, on the fly, and that you are willing to do things that you don't know how to do yet. Look them up on YouTube. Google them. Find them on TikTok. I don't care. Most people graduating from the STEM field that are hired in the STEM field realize that they weren't prepared to actually do the work that they're being hired for in the STEM field. Where do you think they go? Do you think they run back to their professor? Professor, I didn't learn how to do that. Can you show me how? No. They look it up on YouTube. They get a tutorial. They watch a video and they show up at work the next day and they do it. Why? Because they have the capacity, the learning, the work ethic. They want to be able to do the work. They discover it almost on their own and they apply it in their job. And that's what an employer is looking for. Next is communication skills. Verbally, can you use your words to actually talk to a human being? Look, if you struggle with this, practice it. If you're getting into an interview, practice your interview. That is to be able to communicate. What do you think they're looking for when they actually call you in or you're on a Zoom call and you actually have an interview where you have to use your words? They want to know if you can communicate using words, verbal communication, or if you have verbal diarrhea. They want to know, can you finish a thought? Can you get to the point? Can you say what needs to be said? And can you move on? Yes, they're looking for that. Next, they want technical skills. Okay. This gets us into it. Now, technical skills, where do you get those? Back in education. You get those in an apprenticeship or an internship. Those are the hard skills. Now, this is where, in today's education field and workplace, this is where there's a common divide between hard skills and soft skills. I know, all you humanities majors, you liberal arts majors, you don't like the soft skills designation because STEM, oh, that's hard skills because you actually learn how to do things physically and follow a path and it's repeatable. Scientific method and all that. Great, congratulations. But in humanities, you're thinking happy thoughts, good thoughts, smart thoughts, difficult thoughts. You're actually critically thinking. And people don't like soft skills because it sounds like it's soft. But by the way, some of us choose humanities because we know we can't handle the work associated with STEM. Am I right? Yeah, I am right. Because it's easier. Why do you think there's so many English majors, philosophy majors, French basket weaving majors compared to electrical engineering majors? Because they bounce you out of those fields if you can't do the work. They're welcoming you into humanities fields because there's always room for another poet, right? Yeah, that's the divide, and learning how to transfer things that you've learned in your education to the real world. Transfer them. Transferable skills is the new black. It's the new code word for somebody that's adaptable, can learn, can grow, flexible. All the things that employers are looking for. Next, they're looking for analytic and quantitative skills. Can you look at numbers? 66% of that, 84% of that, 13% of that. Or are you tricked by statistics? You know who you are. Are you tricked by stats? Taking a stats class will be one of the hardest things you do as an undergraduate. Heck, as a graduate student, but it will be one of the most beneficial to your critical thinking skills. There's my promo for hard thinking classes. Any kind of stats class, take it. Get your C, but learn that you're going to have to apply things like that, the hard thinking that goes into stats. Employers are looking for somebody that can do that with quantitative skills. Do you have initiative? Are you detail oriented? Do you have interpersonal skills where you're really awkward? Do you have computer skills? What software can you run? Can you code? Do you have language ability? Yes, they're looking for that. Leadership. What the heck is that? It could be as simple as, if you walk in a certain direction, do people follow you? One of the simplest definitions of a leader is that people follow this kind of person. Who do they follow? They follow somebody who solves problems. Back to number one. They want somebody who can think critically. Back to number one. They want somebody who can actually influence others without having to get a promotion and a title or have the boss say, listen to what he says and do what she says because she's smarter than you. If you have to say you're smarter than someone, if you have to say this is my title, therefore you must listen to me, you do not have leadership skills. You have ego, not leadership. And a lot of people today who consider themselves leaders simply have ego. The next thing they're looking for are organizational ability. Really simple. Can you put things in order? Can you keep them in order? If you look for something a week later, do you know where it is? It could be around your house. Look at around your room. Look at around the area you're sitting right now. Do you know where everything is? No? Well, then find out where it is. The simplest term about getting your life in order is to make your bed first thing in the morning, pick a habit, change it, do it every day for 30 days until you don't have to think about it anymore. That's organizational ability. That is, know where your crap is. And if you got too much stuff that you can't possibly remember where it all is, guess what? Get rid of some of your crap. The next thing employers are looking for, strategic planning skills. Can you put together something 6, 8 months ahead, not just weeks, not just hours, but can you organize and put structure to things and get other things involved and say, if I need this by 2 weeks beforehand, I got to talk to them 6 weeks beforehand. That kind of strategic planning skills they're looking for. Are you friendly and outgoing? Do you have an endearing personality? Work on it. Compliment people. When someone's talking to you about themselves, don't say, well, that happened to me too. Instead say, really? What was that like? What happened next? How did that feel? Use a little empathy. This is where emotional maturity or EQ becomes important. You don't know what it is? Look it up. There are YouTube videos about it. Emotional maturity. Go for it. The next thing is creativity. I know. Look, I can't draw to save my life. It's not that kind of creativity. Although if you're in design, art, yes, it might be that kind of creativity. I can simply repeat things. I can trace things. But that's not creativity. Creativity is being able to use something from one setting and apply it or use it in another setting. That gets us back to where we started with being able to put things together that aren't always in the neat little silos or cubby holes. Yes, to be able to have creativity. Tactfulness. Don't gossip. Somebody tells you something, don't repeat it to anyone else. In fact, be the person who undershares rather than overshares. TMI, too much information, that better not be you, because employers don't want to hear that. They don't want to hire that. So when you're in an interview, here's how they ask that question. Tell me about what it was like with Professor Bob. I know Professor Bob. Tell me about it. And if you start breaking bad on Bob, gossiping about Bob, you say, well, you know how Bob is. He's a real pain in the... They're going to think you lack tact. They're going to think you're going to do that about them, about your boss, about your coworkers. And you will not get that job. The next thing employers are looking for, it's just 18.6%. They're looking for entrepreneurial skills, or are you a risk taker? I know, you're getting a job, you don't want to stick your head out, you just want to do your work, learn, get along, get a promotion maybe one day, but you're never going to get a promotion unless you take risks. Measured risks. Risks that fit the risk profile, usually of the person you report to, that fit the risk profile of your organization or company. Now, if you're in the accounting field, the finance field, risk taking is not taking a flyer on a penny stock or dumping all your money into an altcoin and saying, I'm going to beat them, I'm going to beat the S&P 500, I'm going to show people at my new job at Goldman Sachs that I'm much smarter than them. Actually, you're just stupider than them. You got to learn how to play along to the risk parameters of each job. And every single job you will have has risk parameters, whether they're regulated by OSHA or whether they're regulated by an outside accrediting or an auditor who comes in and say, why are you taking on this much risk? Every job has a risk profile, and you have to learn what it is. And to be able to take those small risks, yes, employers are looking for people who will take a risk, dangerous, think something dangerous, do something. And that means maybe sitting around, you may never do it, but imagine something that is beyond what's done today. And you say, just push it one step, maybe 2 steps beyond that. It's dangerous. You don't know how you're going to get there, but that's the kind of idea that is unreasonable. Unreasonable in a good way. Unreasonable in a way that's going to say that you're a creative thinker, that you're willing not only to solve problems, but maybe cause a little agitation to push people, to push yourself to learn, to develop, to be flexible, to adapt. That's what everybody's looking for. You see how all these things come together in a nice, neat package? And lastly, fluency in a foreign language. 5.2% of employers want you to be able to speak a language, usually because of their customer base or those whom they serve. Great. That's something you can acquire in college too. Great. I have the fluency. Or maybe you have a native fluency. Maybe you just live in a country or a place that has multiple languages and you have to be able to speak multiple languages. Good for you. By the way, I talk to international students all the time who come in and they wonder, well, what am I going to do with my degree? I'm from this country, I'm fluent in this language. And I say, do you tell people you're fluent in that language? Do you go to companies with international branches that also work in that language? Can you go to them and say, hey, I'm a native speaker in this language? It's not English, but it's a language that the company is going to look at and say, you know what? You're very rare. You're special. You're a native speaker. You have fluency in that language. We need to hire you. And they'll train you to do the job because it's easier to train you to do their little thing that they do in their business than it is to get a native speaker to build up that capacity that you come with. If you don't look for companies that have work in areas where your native language, your second, third, fourth language is primary to that business or is how they function, then you're not going to find a job where people look at you and say, I choose you, Pikachu. Now, do you notice what's not on that list? 20 things that employers are looking for. Your GPA. I know you work hard. You want to prove. Maybe mom and dad, maybe mom or dad, maybe an uncle, maybe somebody says you need A's in this. Maybe you want to work to get an A from a professor. Maybe you take classes because, hey, it's an easy A. Whatever it is, evaluating how your grades will matter to you is not even on the list for employers looking to hire you and create a career out of the education, beginning with the education you received, that leads to a life where, as a college degree holder, you'll make $1 to $1.5 million more over your working life than someone who never went to college. And thanks for being part of the Do-Over Show. Please, while you're here, could you tap the like button? Because it really helps. And while you're down there, how about you subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. I'm so glad you found me and I found you. Thanks.